Hello and welcome to Travel the World with Confluence. We used to run a podcast earlier called Geopolitical Musings, and we discovered that travel and geopolitics actually have quite a close link. And this year, Shraddha and I have been traveling not the world, but as much as we can, and we have discovered some more stories related to geopolitics, and we would love to share those with you. But before we begin, Shraddha, how are you today?
Very, very good. You're going to take me back to my travels. I'm going to get very nostalgic, so please bear with me.
Yes, travel does make us very nostalgic, especially now that the summer has ended. People have come back into business. It's a bit like, I kind of want to go back on holiday.
Yeah, too many Habibis.
Or as the Instagram meme says, Habibi, come to Dubai, but not everybody come to Dubai. All right, enough of jokes. Let's get straight into our travel stories. So this year, very fortunate to have been able to travel. I myself went to Egypt and Georgia. And Shraddha, where did you go?
I ended up going to Bali in Indonesia, to Bangkok in Thailand, and Singapore as well.
So some very distinct countries from each other, but like I said, travel stories link very, very closely with the geopolitics that we watch so closely. So we're going to just delve into what the local culture taught us, how it linked with the GCC, how it linked with the broader global geopolitics, and anything else, any other random thoughts that we had while traveling. So let's go straight into Bali, because just before we started filming, Shraddha was very clear that she wants to go back to Bali. So Shraddha, let's talk about what you learned about the local culture there.
Amandeep, it's so amazing. When I used to be with Barclays Bank, I used to head the Asia Pacific team, so I used to travel quite a lot across Asia. Once I moved here, that Asia travel has come down, but when I went to Asia, I realized that it's a very distinct flavor. So Bali of today is very different of the Bali that I remember when I used to go. Ubud at that time, one of the biggest tourist destinations today, used to be empty. It used to be spiritual, it used to be sleepy, it was inhabited by people who wanted to basically escape consumerist cultures in their country. You've got a lot of French Balinese marriages, Australian Balinese marriages, UK Balinese marriages, and very creative, etc. It still is all of that, but it's super crowded. Obviously Indians and Chinese, not so much Ubud, but other parts of Bali like Seminyak, etc. That's where most of the tourists are, large numbers from there. It's still very vibrant, it's still lots of things to do, but it's become very gigantic, it's become extremely crowded. Still the people are very nice. I'll give you this anecdote. There are very big traffic jams in Bali, right? And people will stand in the queues without honking. It's like they have nowhere to go. And when you go from the UAE to there, and again, this is not good or bad, but UAE has very masculine energy, right? Go-getters, ambition, get something done. Bali has a very feminine energy. Oh, we'll get it done. It's extremely creative. There's very little aggression. So that's very stark. Again, real estate in Bali is as big as Dubai. People from all over the world want to come to Bali. They want to live there. Already there's a backlash emerging among the local population on what Bali is turning into. Of course, it's a thin line between tourism and what you're becoming, and a lot of them are now moving to Philippines, which is the new sort of hub of getaways that COVID unleashed on all of us. But Bali, as we all know, is a Hindu sort of an island in an otherwise predominantly Muslim dominated country, but Bali is such syncretic traditions. You enter their temples, you've got obviously our Hindu gods, you've got Buddhist gods, and then you have like a Muslim shrine all within one temple. So very nice, very beautiful. I really enjoyed. And we'll go to the GCC when we talk, but Qatar and Emirates dominate the skies there as they do everywhere else. So I'm going to stop now and hand it back to you.
It's so interesting that you call that feminine energy, oh, we'll get it done. But when I look at the office, I feel like the women are the only ones getting things done, where we're just like, oh, we have this thing to do, so we're going to do it. And we're going to act on it very, very quickly. But that's a very interesting observation. I find your observation about real estate also very closely linked with what I saw in Egypt as well. So I went to Cairo and Hurghada in Egypt. Cairo, of course, bustling city. Also went to Alexandria, which was, just a very... still also very distinct from Cairo. Cairo has a bustling city energy. It's got the history with the Turkish influence, Coptic influence as well. So you've got all of the mixed cultures from various religions. You've got just everybody trying to get somewhere. Everybody just trying to do things. On the other hand, Alexandria was a little bit calmer. You have the views of the Mediterranean, so people just kind of sit there, with their seafood, with their music, with their shisha.
Sounds beautiful.
It was beautiful, but it was very cold because I went in February. And so, we were just on the beach and we were just listening to the sound of the waves. There's music coming in the background and there's absolutely no rush to get anywhere. So very, very like Bali, except that you don't have that access to the beach because, winter time. But real estate, I saw was quite prominent in all three of these areas. Because Cairo, like we have seen, the CEO of Imar said that he can quickly turn around downtown Cairo into something like an Imar property. So when we think of Imar properties, we think of luxury, we think of just something that can cater to every need of every person who lives in the community. So that I thought was very interesting, that despite the kind of flaws in the Egyptian economy, people still have hope around it. And that's true for the people who live there as well, because I met these young people, 21, 22 years old, they've just finished their education, they're just getting into the workforce, they're still experimenting with what they want to do and what they want to prosper in. So one of the tour guides, for example, he said that he wanted to learn Italian. I think he'd already learned Italian, and so he wanted to just be like a man of the world. So he's doing this as a tour guide to learn, the culture of the various people who visit Egypt. Such a wonderful guy. And then I asked him, what is your kind of ambition? You're learning all this Italian, you're learning about all these cultures. And he said, at the end of the day, I want to do something for my people. I want to buy a football pitch and I want to set up a training academy for the kids who are unable to, experiment with sports because of whatever, family problems, poverty-related issues. So that kind of awareness was just very, very interesting. Same with Alexandria, beach-facing properties, the market is booming, and Hurghada is, Red Sea, it's just gorgeous. The number of expats that are living over there, especially Russian expats since 2022, it's just a massive, massive market. And I feel like that's very close to Bali in the sense that you have so many mixed sort of relationships and cultures. Altogether, like a beautiful, beautiful experience across the country.
Like the comedian whose name I'm forgetting, he keeps asking people, where do you want to go? Why are you like running away from where you are to a new place and then destroying that as well? But I think it just seems to be the world trend.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to escape capitalism. Oh, actually, as someone from Egypt once told me, because when you live in a first world country, you don't have enough drama. So you want to come to our country. Because I told him, I feel like, maybe should I retire in Egypt? And he said, yeah, because you don't have enough drama in Dubai. That's why you want to come to Egypt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think all these countries are very similar in the way like they're evolving, and I think with the economies also, Indonesian rupiah is Amandeep 16,725 US, like $1 is 16,000 something Indonesian rupiah. So at one point of time I had like 2-3 million rupees in my hand and like I was shaking. I'm like, what is this? One corn on the cob is some 20,000 Indonesian rupiah. So it's very, very, Indonesia is actually very interesting that, such a booming economy, but the currency is not doing well, and then they've got issues of, corruption, etc., police overreach. So we'll come to that a little later, but do you want to move on to Georgia?
I just want to say one thing about Egypt as well, just because you mentioned currency. The most expensive meal that I ever had in Cairo was 76 dirhams. That included like main course, tea, my friend had shisha, so that was included as well. And so just like a very, very full meal for a solid 76 dirhams. I think it's the most kind of filling meal that I've ever had.
I did it in 32 dirhams in Bali, like a full meal.
I think Shraddha won that one. All right, let's move into Georgia. So Georgia was a lovely little solo birthday trip that I did. Again, like Egypt, very, very friendly people. You get to see that difference between generations as well. So the older people are a little bit more conservative, but the younger people, because I think they've seen so many people coming into the country, they are a lot more open to other cultures. I saw quite a lot of, engagement with people from the Gulf. Like I said, we're going to talk about the Gulf a little bit later, but they're engaging with people from the Gulf. So they have a very positive opinion about people from here. Lots of people from the GCC just kind of stay there for longer times during the summer because, well, Dubai weather is kind of unbearable. But yeah, again with the food and the drinks so cheap, and they have a very community style living. So whatever you do, it's more about the community than it is about the individual. So even if you have celebrations, there's something called a Toastmaster. It's not the kind of Toastmaster where we debate things, it's the Toastmaster who actually delivers a toast at every occasion. So even if it's like a simple birthday party, they're going to have a Toastmaster who's going to be making a big speech and everybody has to listen. And after that, everybody can just get drunk and wild. So it was just, it was a nice change of culture where it's still similar to our sort of, Asian community-driven culture. And also lots of, when I was walking in old Tbilisi, there was like a vintage vehicle which they've redesigned to work in contemporary times, blasting Egyptian music.
Wow, it's an honor, I think. They got to
The
know your
universe was
love.
centered for me. But again, they had people from the Gulf. I could see like very distinct GCC clothing as well. So it was, they were trying to cater to their tastes.
Yeah.
So it was just very nice to see. Very short trip, but very, very beautiful.
I think when I went to Georgia, they do that city tour and they say that very, very convincingly that wine was first discovered in Georgia. So wine is an integral part of everything they do, like you said, the Toastmasters. But anything else that particularly stood out for you?
The wine tasting.
Of course.
The wine tasting was lovely because they had like 5 different samples and just even within the reds there's so much variety. Given that Georgia is actually not that big of a country, and also that weather-wise it does still get quite cold, but they managed to deliver some top quality wine. So, and it's not very expensive. So yeah.
I think moving from the not so expensive part to Thailand. Thailand again was a short trip. I went for work to Bangkok, and then of course you have to stay on because it's Bangkok. Again, from my reflections of a past that I used to go to, it was the opposite with Bali. Bangkok used to be extremely crowded when I used to go earlier. A lot of tourists pouring in, not many things to do. This time it felt like much less crowd. The economy probably is not doing as well tourism-wise as it used to do earlier. Of course, there's a lot of things to do. You've got the entire Buddhist cultures, you've got beautiful Buddhist temples, you've got great places, night markets, places to go out, and then of course the entire economy of hospitality and everything. So I enjoyed it. Some very interesting things came about. We got to know that Thailand is one of the largest transshipment hub for air cargo, right? And that was just very, very interesting because I would think Vietnam, China, even India, etc. But Thailand apparently has a lot of going on between them and this part of the world. Again, very regular Emirates flights, very regular Qatar flights, freight cargos, etc. So Bangkok was very enjoyable, but I still miss the old Bangkok. I didn't find that vibe this time, and everybody that we spoke to said that the restaurants are closing, they're not enough tourists, because I think other parts of Bangkok, of Thailand have now been discovered. People would go to Koh Samui, which is much more pristine. I don't know how long it will remain pristine with the kind of, again, Indian, Chinese, Australians, everybody who's coming in. But yeah, I mean, I think Asia is always very special because that's the point that I've traveled quite a lot, and it's green, it's got water. So yeah, it was a good trip that way.
Do you think that on some level you found that Bangkok wasn't as vibrant or as appealing as it used to be because you've traveled so much elsewhere? That that kind of the novelty has worn off.
So it was still very appealing. It was just not as crowded or as bustling as it used to be. It could be a particular summer, but when we spoke to people, so we were staying in one of the most lively tourist destinations of Bangkok. Right, and we saw a lot of people, especially from India, because I think India is one of the visa-free countries, etc., that come, but very few expats expats in the sense the people coming from UK, France, US that I used to see earlier. It used to be one of the major cities for Barclays. I think also that footprint has come down quite a bit as well, but it's still appealing and it was still quite enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, my father does frequent trips to Thailand because they have the most sprawling golf courses. And he has had the most amazing time in those golf courses. I think the last time that he went there, he did a little bit of a cruise as well. Blue, beautiful, gorgeous waters.
I think outside of Bangkok, it's thriving.
Yeah.
But within Bangkok, you've also got so many political protests.
Yeah.
Right now, I think one of the major political figures was arrested. So Bangkok, since at the time I was in Barclays, which has been almost like, 7-8 years now, has basically had a lot of political turmoil. The political system has had a lot of turmoil. I mean, obviously the a new sort of a ruler came in as well. So yeah, I think all of that has impacted Bangkok. But outside of it, I think it is probably. I have not been to Koh Samui in years, so I can't say.
I think that's a good segue into the geopolitical observations that we have made. So, this is one. What else have you seen in both of these countries that you visited that really stood out to you as something that is the geopolitics that we do an analysis of, that in real time?
When I used to cover Asia for Barclays, I mean, obviously I don't cover Asia as closely as I used to. You would think that because of the maritime disputes, China and Indonesia and all these countries were constantly at loggerheads. That's not the case. There's a lot of synergies also happening. Bali, of course, is a place where everyone likes everybody. At least they will say that publicly. So there's a lot of. There was no very stark anti-China sentiment, for example, or anti-China or pro-US or anything. We didn't come across any of that. And we think that particular aspect is very curious, very how do I say it, central to this part of the world. The kind of hard nationalisms that we see in many parts of the region, you don't really see in Asia. Right, so that was one. Of course, politically, Indonesia is very, very interesting. They had a president, Joko Widodo, who was supposed to be their Trump, if I may say. He was supposed to challenge the deep state, and he took a lot of measures to sort of bring down corruption, which is a very integral part of how the Indonesian society works. So all of that is happening, but the businessmen were telling us, but at least things used to get done earlier. So now you have somebody who's been an ex sort of military person, and it's a continuation. But we went to see the entire the Garuda Park that they've built in Ulawata. Again, it's one of those things which has been built for somebody's vanity. It's beautiful, but hardly anybody visits it. So it was a little bit of all of that as well. But because we are GCC fangirls, of course, we have to connect it. Amandeep, the first question anybody would ask me when I would say Dubai is if I'm an Emirates crew. That was the first question. Everybody knew Emirates, and when I would say no, then the second question would be, are you a Qatar crew? I'm like, no, I am not crew, but yeah, thank you for that. And then they're like, oh, because you're so pretty, that's why we asked this question. I said, well, good comeback. But many, I think Qatar especially, I mean, it's supposed to have direct flights from Dubai, but I took Qatar, and full flight there, the Boeing 787 was full. All people from Europe and Africa who come to Doha and then fly to Bali. In Singapore, I think I'm going to do a little bit of segue. In Singapore, I saw the Marhaba Lounge, and I'm like, oh my god, what is Marhaba Lounge doing here? And then I found out that a part of the airport is handled by Danata, like so the Dubai National.
Our Danata. Let's just focus on that.
Our Danata. I'm forgetting the full form, but and I got to know that Danata does a number of other airports across the world, including in Asia. So just I think the soft power that the GCC is building, having money is one thing, but using it very, very intelligently to create themselves as that logistics transshipment hub is what I think I have to give them credit. So many people ask me in hospitality, oh, is there any way you can get us to Dubai? Or is there any way we can come and work? So it seemed like for them, Dubai is this upwardly mobile, aspirational lifestyle. I didn't tell them about the traffic or the weather yet. I said, you come and experience it yourself.
That's so interesting that people are asking you for ways to get into Dubai, because this happened like many, many years ago when Dubai wasn't as bustling as it is now. But I was visiting Cyprus when I was in school, so like a very long time ago. And we were at breakfast, and this waiter used to serve us every single morning, and he was just the sweetest person. And then on our final day, my dad mentioned, oh, it's our last day, we've had such a nice time, thank you for your hospitality, we're gonna go home to Dubai now. And then he kind of like secretly tries to set up a conversation with my dad, and like, oh, is there a way that you can get me to Dubai? And I was like, oh, is that why you were so nice to us? But it's just like, this was so many years ago. I think like 2010, which is like, what, 15 years ago. And that kind of pull still existed. Having said that, that pull for some reason does not exist in Egypt, because they are very proud people. They're very proud of their Egyptian heritage. When it comes to identity, they don't think of themselves as Arab, because outside of Egypt, I think we tend to group everyone together. When we think of Egyptians, we think of, oh, this is an Arab country. They don't think of themselves as that. They are very, very proud in their pharaonic history, especially people from the Coptic community. They are just so closely bound with that sort of ancient Egypt sort of glory era. So for them, if given a choice, they would stay in Egypt. They would never leave, which is interesting because we do have a sizable Egyptian population in Dubai as well.
Yes.
But if it was up to them, they would never ever leave. And of course, that's true for a lot of people. You know, you never want to leave home. But for them, it's just a matter of such pride in Egypt. And what I saw in terms of, you know, links with the politics that we cover, as soon as you step out of the airport, the first thing that I saw was a photo, massive billboard, Sisi on the one hand shaking hands with Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed.
Of course.
I was like, oh, hello! And you see these kind of snippets of the UAE everywhere, and it was so silly as well. It was in downtown Cairo when I saw this like Etisalat shop, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. And again, you know, you see Emirates anywhere, you see like an Emirates billboard in a travel agency, it's like, wow, this is amazing. And that's not a big thing for the UAE to accomplish, just having an Emirates signpost there, but you can see that there's still bits of influence, and they love what the UAE has done in terms of knowing what they're after on their economic agenda, not having any kind of ideological justification behind it or any links with anything else aside from economic progress. So they really appreciate that. And that is also visible in Georgia, because again, you know, they do have a large GCC population visiting the country. So they appreciate how the people are. They try to blend with the GCC culture as well. So, you know, hotel staff trying to call me Habibti, which was just so sweet. And then when you step into downtown or in Old Tbilisi, you see signs that say Iktishaf Georgia, which means discover Georgia in Arabic. So they are really trying to make the effort to not just invite people from the GCC, but also to blend with them, because that influence is growing. So like you said, that soft power definitely on the rise. And it's very like understated as well. That's probably why it's called soft power, but it's nice to see that influence exists, but not in a, to use a Gen Z word, in a pick-me way.
And I think also it's worth mentioning that we're basing this on the experiences that we had in limited cities and talking to people. Of course, Egypt is very big, and so is Indonesia. So maybe Jakarta has some of these trends that I've said. Maybe there is some sort of anti-Chinese sentiment there. And similarly with Egypt. Yeah. But I think what is very interesting is how these things will evolve. You know, the Saudi, UAE, and Qatar are really taking over. How do I say it? A lot of the IMF loans are, for example, being repaid by these countries. So in a way, they're becoming that next big power that's investing. So right now, the sentiment is very positive. But as things evolve, we'd have to see, because, you know, development projects come with their own challenges of debt, of you know, countries losing their sovereignty. So it'd be interesting to see. But as of now, you see a GCC footprint everywhere. Mm-hmm. In fact, India also, in Indonesia has signboards in Hindi, of course, because, 1.4 billion population that travels a lot. So definitely I feel like, you know, especially after COVID, the entire world structure is changing in terms of, you know, who's moving where is the money flow moving, and that's leading to a lot of these currents and then things that we have to watch very closely. But Qatar Airways is Emirates Qatar, Danata, DP World. I mean, you know DP World, and you don't know ports, right? I have no idea what port names are.
Why would anyone know ports?
Yeah,
like, unless they are geopolitical nerds.
Yeah.
No one should know anything about ports. But then if you ever watch a cricket match that is being, a cricket match anywhere, you will see signs of Saudi Aramco, you will see signs of DP World, you will see signs of Qatar Airways as well.
Yeah.
So that has really changed the visibility, I think, of these things.
And I think that flows into what we say, right? The new future tech, sovereign wealth fund driven economies being built around this part of the world. Of course, it has regional implications, but it also has a lot of global implications, which I think people are not, because the headlines are dominated by Israel and Iran. What is happening as at the economic realm very, very slowly is often being missed. But don't worry, you have us for that. But I think that would be my observations.
Yeah, I would just like to close with, I think next time I'm going to have to go to Lebanon because that is where all of the reconstruction is happening.
You're not going without me.
Gorgeous beaches. Batroun, I've heard, is beautiful. So that's going to be our next one. Hopefully, that'll be our next travel with Confluence video.
And Syria also. I think that's top of my list. Hopefully, the way things are going, we'll be able to go soon.
Absolutely. Well, that is all from us in Travel the World with Confluence. We hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for your insights as well, Shraddha.
Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy. We'd love to hear your comments and something that you've done differently in these countries and your insights. Thank you.